Every 15 years, God sends out millions of monsters to kill people. People tried to fight them, but they were stronger, so now people can only hide. The movie starts with a story about the first day of judgment. Then, hordes of monsters came pouring out of ordinary mines deep in the earth. They killed a lot of people and made cities fall apart. With these monsters, a real war broke out, and in the end, they were all killed. On the site of the old wells, protective structures like gates were built to keep people from being broken into again and again. It's been 15 years. The world was able to get back on its feet after the event. Laura is one of the lucky ones who made it out alive. She is employed by the school. She has a male friend named Milton who keeps trying to ask her out but never succeeds. Most likely, this is because she is still angry at her ex-husband, Dave. He wasn't with Laura on the day of judgment, so she had to make it on her own while she was pregnant. Tyler is 15 years old. He is Dave and Laura's son. He spends the whole day with his friends and girlfriend, Maddie, at the skate park. In his free time, he plays computer games. He is also a bargaining chip for his father and mother, who broke up right after he was born and have a hard time getting along. In the meantime, things are getting worse. An eclipse is coming up, and this is one of the signs that monsters might attack. Also, the number of earthquakes has gone up. People working on the protective dome are doing emergency checks, and there are some very scary stories in the news. Fish began dying out all over the world. On the day before the first day of judgment, the same thing happened. Migration is also a scary sign because it shows that everything is the same as it was 15 years ago. When the phone rings, Tyler is at his dad's house for the weekend. Dave gets a call from Ted, a person he used to know. He is sure that tomorrow will be the new day of judgment. He tells Dave to hurry up and bring the family to his shelter before the eclipse. In the meantime, the first monster sneaks up the stairs from under the protective dome. Laura calls Dave at this time. She has also heard the news, which is why she wants Dave to bring Tyler home. Milton has made a reservation at a shelter, which she thinks is the only thing that can save them. Dave tells her he is the father and that Tyler will be safe with him. Tyler gets a text message, reads it, and then sneaks out of the house while his dad is talking. Laura is in a panic because Dave's house is not safe and he needs to get Tyler to her right away. Dave thinks so. When he goes to Tyler's room, he doesn't find him there. Milton rushes Laura, saying that the shelter is getting full and they need to move quickly. She tells Tyler that she can't find him. To find him at the skate park, Milton uses his phone number. Tyler is there with Maddie for sure. She is scared because her parents left her alone. She is very scared and begs Tyler not to leave her. Tyler says he will never do what his father did and leave Maddie alone. Then, all of a sudden, a bird calls out, and huge groups of birds fly in one direction. People in the park run away out of fear. Dave goes to the park to look for Tyler while everyone else leaves town. He gets stuck in a huge traffic jam and leaves the car to go find his son on foot. At this time, the worker checks the instruments under the dome. There's a rustle and some odd noises. When a monster shows up, it rushes at the worker and rips him apart. Soldiers standing nearby shoot at it, but the bullets don't hurt it because they aren't made for that. Tyler and Maddie are horrified by the chaos going on around them. Tyler tells his father that Maddie had nowhere to go and that he couldn't leave her. This brings Dave running. Laura and Milton drive up and take everyone to the shelter where seats have been reserved. Just over an hour remains until the eclipse. People are trying to get out of the city, and there are traffic jams everywhere. They finally get to the shelter, but the military has put up a fence around it, and only women and children are allowed in. Dave tells Tyler to take care of his mother and sends them to a shelter. She stays in the crowd with Milton. Tyler goes to the shelter, but when he gets there, he runs to his dad. Laura and Maddie go after him right away. Tyler screams, "He's my dad. I won't leave him." At this time, the scoreboard shows that the shelter is full and there are no more spots available. They hurry to the car by running. Dave offers to go to Ted's hiding place in the desert, and Milton suggests that they hide in the school's basement, which is nearby and safe. Another traffic jam, and the road was blocked by dozens of cars. They stop the car and get out. A big earthquake starts, and a shadow falls over the sun. The eclipse is now happening. The monsters make their way out from under the dome, which keeps them safe. Their crowds, whether they are crawling or flying, take over the city. Dave says that you should leave the city because it's a lot more dangerous here. He wants to drive himself, but Milton is angry because this is his car and he knows how to save everyone. They get into an argument with Dave, but then a monster with wings grabs Milton and takes him up into the sky. Laura screams in a way that breaks your heart. Dave shoves her into the car and tries to get them out of this hell. Along the canal, they drive. Dave tells the kids that everything is okay and that we will get out. The gas tank is almost empty. Dave wants to find something else to use instead. There are a few cars in front of us. Dave gets in one of the cars. An old man hid in the back seat of the car. He takes a quick look at a huge, bloody monster that looks like a bull's bones. He is not far away. The bull walks by the car without noticing them and starts to eat the body on the ground. Dave rolls the car back to Laura and the kids in a very quiet way. Now, the two cars are next to each other, but they need to get to a new spot. In the meantime, the bull saw them. The man gets out of the car and uses the salt jar he was holding to sprinkle salt on the bull. The bull stopped, and the kids and Laura ran into Dave's car just in time. The bull then charges at the man and rips him to pieces. But Dave is able to get his car out of there. Monsters come in large groups from all directions. Dave is driving down a mountain road that hasn't been used in a long time. They drive to where Ted lives. It looks like a concrete bunker and is very safe. There are cameras on the roof, but when they knock, no one answers because the doors are shut. Ted is sitting behind the monitor, and someone is standing behind him with a gun to his neck. A herd of monsters runs along the mountain. They hurry to the shelter right away. Dave grabs a tire iron to protect his family, but just as they are about to run into the bunker, the doors open. Dave happily hugs Ted. Next to him in the bunker is his wife Stella, and in the corner is a military man. Ted tells him that he knows him as Corporal Garrett Jensen. On the monitors, you can see the monsters trying to break down the door. Everyone is nervous, and Garrett stays quiet. Maddie wants to know how the monsters can sense them and if they can see through walls. Garrett laughs. They respond to light and heat, but I think they can also see our souls. They were made by the devil, which means that God also made them. They hurt the body, but they eat the spirit. Are you religious, Corporal? Laura asks. Today, he says, yes. He says that he worked at a refinery on the first day of judgment. When the monsters came, he was able to jump into a pond of salty mud, where they were afraid to go. He sat in the dirt and watched as 150 of his co-workers and friends were killed by monsters. Garrett is so into his story that he doesn't see Ted motioning for Dave to touch the knife. Dave gets it and takes the knife quietly. This is why it is called Judgment Day, says Garrett. On this day, the devil is in charge. At this time, something that looks like a centipede crawls in through a small hole in the window's mesh screen. Garrett says he'll be the first one on duty. Ted also invites them to stay and looks at Dave in a deep way. But then Garrett pulls the gun out of its holster, making Dave put down the knife. Garrett says that he was trying to hide and that this is where he did it. Ted didn't want him to come in, but Stella was kind and let him in. He made it through the first time, and he will make it through this one, too, no matter what. Tyler tries to take Garrett's gun by throwing himself at him, but Garrett gets rid of him. Dave makes the soldier feel better. At this moment, a monster that looks like a centipede comes out of the wall and attacks Stella, who is standing next to it. Ted rips it off his wife's neck and pours salt on it, and Dave takes Garrett's gun and shoots it. Garrett is tied down, and they try to stop Stella's bleeding. Then Dave sees a big bull coming to help the monsters. He knows that they are going to die and that they need to leave the bunker. The bull is trying to open the doors by kicking them down. Ted doesn't want to go outside because he thinks his wife won't make it. Stella asks him to go with everyone else, though, because there is a tunnel under the bunker that goes to the mountains. Garrett convinces him to go with him because he has a car with a full tank and can take everyone to the gate, where there are bunkers from which the monsters came out and won't come back. They don't believe him, but he insists that all he was doing was trying to stay alive and that it would be better for him to help them now. They decide to go. Get us there, Dave tells Garrett, and we'll forget about everything else. They arm themselves. Ted has a lot of weapons. The bull keeps pounding on the doors, but they still manage to escape into the tunnel. As they walk to the car, Stella starts to feel sick. Dave and Laura start to fight, and she tells him that they could be in a shelter right now. Then Tyler sees a monster by the roadside. It's over. Maddie moves toward it. Here, long tentacles of the monster stick out of a hole in the ground and try to pull her away by wrapping around her legs. Maddie screams like crazy, and Tyler and Dave come to her rescue. Garrett offers to help, and Dave frees his hands by cutting the ropes. They go to the mountain's peak. They see a city that is destroyed and on fire. When they get to the car, it won't turn over. On top of the mountain, monsters appear and rush right at them. While Garrett tries to start the car, Stella looks at the monsters and then at the gun her husband is holding. She pulls out her gun and gets out of the car. When Ted sees this, he begs her to give him the gun. Stella, on the other hand, turns away and goes to the monsters because she knows she is doomed. Ted calls her and starts to cry, but Dave makes him get in the car. They only get away at the last minute. Monsters come after them in large groups. On the way, they hear something on the radio. They say that almost all of the shelters couldn't stand up to the attack and were destroyed. Laura puts her hand on Dave's shoulder while he strokes her. They walk up to the door. The doors are open, but the room is empty. Garrett says that the hiding place is in the basement. They are on their way, but the power has to be fixed first. Garrett and Dave decide to do it, and the rest of the group goes to find the first aid station because Ted hurt his back. Dave gets the power back on. Garrett says that the gate was ready for a second invasion because tons of salt were pumped into it, but the well was too deep. When they get to the others, they hear monsters roaring and see a bloody body. There are still 2 hours left of the eclipse. Garrett offers to hide in a warehouse full of chemicals, where the doors can't be opened. Garrett is attacked by a monster out of the blue. He and Dave are able to take care of it, but the other monsters run away from the noise. Garrett runs quickly through a door and shuts it after himself. He gives himself a shot of something, because his veins are swollen and black. Dave goes back to his family and asks Tyler to watch out for his mother while he is gone. He wants to make things fair and keep the monsters out by putting the salt water through the tank pipes. Dave gets a kiss from Laura, and she warns him to be careful. Dave gets through the vents and sees how the monster eats its prey. Dave needs to turn off the water near that monster who is chewing. He is able to turn on the water, and containers are filled with water. Dave climbed back up, but the monster could tell what he was doing and ran after him. Dave fights back and sprinkles salt on the monster, which makes it fall apart. The monsters had already found the others and were surrounding them. Tyler returns fire. Then Dave's voice comes over the loudspeaker. He asks for the fire alarm to be turned on. They're surrounded by monsters, and they're getting closer. Ted tells Tyler, "Son, watch out for the family," and uses an axe to attack the monsters. Several monsters attack him at the same time. Tyler fires back, and Ted, who is now hurt, tries to fight back. Tyler runs out of bullets, so he pulls the fire alarm. Saltwater jets come from all directions and hit the monsters, crushing them into bloody dust as they scream in pain. They make it out alive, but Ted dies. The sun comes out. Every monster comes back through the gate. Children who are with Laura run out to a place where Garrett is standing with a gun. He shoots Tyler. This is no longer our world. He says that he won't live anyway because God is taking a break and aims again. Laura tries to put her body over her son to protect him. Dave runs in and uses a fire extinguisher to hit Garrett in the head. Garrett falls to the ground, and Dave runs at Tyler and Laura. Here, a big monster comes up from the ground. It swoops down on Garrett, who is closer, and slowly eats him up. The monster is getting closer, so they run into the medical unit and make a salty mixture in a cylinder. It kicks down the doors, but Dave is able to hit it with a can of something. It blows up, and the monster roars and crumbles into ash. Laura hugs Dave, but neither of them thinks they've been saved. Both pairs of people go outside holding hands. The world is in bad shape, but the monsters are no longer there. This might be another break, but one thing is for sure, life will come back, and light will always win over darkness. So much for today. In the comments, tell me what movies you want me to talk about. See you!